There's a huge shift happening right now in the global economy. It's quiet, but it's massive. While we're all hearing about slowdowns in Europe, a whole torrent of cash and professional talent has been flowing in one direction, to the Gulf. Today, we're going to break down exactly what's going on.
So let's just put a name on this thing right away. We're calling it the Great Reallocation. And this isn't just some passing trend, okay? This is a deep structural shift. The differences in economics, in taxes, and just plain lifestyle between, say, London and Dubai have gotten so huge that they are literally redrawing the world's map for talent and money.
Really, this whole thing is a tale of two completely different stories unfolding at the exact same time. On one side, you have the old guard, and on the other, you have a region that is just sprinting into the future.
I mean, just look at this contrast. In Europe, long-term investor confidence is getting kind of shaky, and we're actually seeing capital pull back. But in the UAE, it's the total opposite. It's what they call a greenfield boom. New projects, new company headquarters, entire new industries are being built from scratch.
And the numbers here are just wild. These aren't little dips we're talking about. According to UNCTA data, foreign direct investment flowing into Europe just plummeted by 58%. And for a powerhouse economy like Germany, that drop was a staggering 60%. That's a huge, flashing red light.
And here's the other side of that story. In that exact same period, the UAE saw its FDI inflows jump by almost 35%. So the money's not vanishing, right? It's just reallocating. It's actively packing its bags and moving from a high-tax, slow-growth place to a place that's basically rolling out the red carpet for it.
So why? What's the massive pull? Why are literally thousands of professionals packing their bags and heading east? Well, it all starts with some very, very compelling numbers.
The most powerful magnet, the one that's almost impossible to ignore, is this number right here, 0%. That's the personal income tax rate in the UAE. Now, if you're coming from Europe, where taxes can easily gobble up 40, even 50% of your paycheck, this number, it's not just attractive, it's revolutionary.
And for businesses, the gap is just as stark. This creates this massive opportunity for what economists call fiscal arbitrage, which is really just a fancy way of saying you're profiting by setting up shop where the taxes are way, way lower. It's a huge incentive.
But it's not just taxes. The UAE has made just living there incredibly simple. The Golden Visa program, it's not just a piece of paper, it's a welcome mat. It gives you long-term stability, but also, and this is key, flexibility. You don't have to live there 365 days a year to keep it. For a modern, global professional, that is an absolute game changer.
And when you put all these policies together, what you get is a really significant demographic shift. It's a full-on youth flight. You've got young, ambitious people in Europe looking at high taxes and high costs of living, and then they look over at the UAE, and they just see pure opportunity. They're voting with their feet.
And the data totally backs this up. Look at this. Of the almost 700,000 people who left the UK in a recent year, 174,000 of them were Gen Z and millennials. That is a massive brain drain of the next generation of innovators and earners.
And you can see these trigger points happen in real time. In the month right before the UK's 2025 budget was announced, what happened? Online searches for moving to Dubai just exploded by over 300%. People see tax hikes coming, and they immediately start looking for the exit.
All right, zero income tax, golden visas, a booming economy. It all sounds pretty perfect, doesn't it? Which, of course, brings up the most obvious question in the world. So, what's the catch?
And this brings us to the hidden risks. We call it the prosperity trap. It's this dangerous illusion that just because you have a high, tax-free income, you're automatically building long-term wealth. And that is absolutely not true.
Okay, the first major risk is all about retirement planning. You have to understand a system that is totally different from what you'd see in Europe. Instead of a pension, the UAE has something called an end-of-service gratuity. Basically, it's a required severance payment you get when you leave a job.
Now, this is fundamentally different from a European pension. A pension is a fund that grows with compound interest for decades. A gratuity is a one-time lump sum payment based on your final salary. It doesn't compound. It's a severance package, not a retirement fund. And that distinction is absolutely critical to understand.
And because so many people misunderstand this, it leads to a huge savings gap. A shocking 61% of expats in the region say they have no long-term savings at all. They think their gratuity payment is going to be enough for retirement. Statistically, it's almost never going to be.
And beyond the money, there's a kind of precariousness to daily life that a lot of people just don't think about. Your very right to live in the country is tied to your job. You lose your job, you have a very short window to find a new one, or you're out. Debt is taken incredibly seriously. Creditors can actually get you banned from leaving the country. And the laws around what you say online are super strict. I mean, an emoji you'd send without a second thought in Europe could lead to huge fines or even deportation there.
A lot of new arrivals pour their tax-free money into property, which seems smart, right? But even that market has its own flashing warning lights. After prices shot up 50% in 5 years, the big Swiss bank UBS flagged Dubai's real estate market as having an elevated risk of being a bubble.
And finally, there's the human element, which often gets missed in all the financial talk. The very same thing that makes Dubai so dynamic, all the people coming and going, also makes it really hard to build a lasting community. Psychologists there report high rates of loneliness, because there's this constant revolving door of friends and colleagues leaving every few years, which can be really isolating.
So how do we make sense of these two competing realities? You've got this incredible opportunity on one hand and these pretty significant risks on the other. Well, it all boils down to a really basic trade-off.
The source text that inspired this whole explainer, it just summarizes the entire phenomenon with one brilliant phrase. It's a rational arbitrage, a calculated trade of velocity over stability. You're choosing the speed of growth over the steady, predictable safety of the old system.
And that ultimately is the takeaway here. It's a trade. You are swapping the built-in, government-mandated safety nets of Europe, things like pensions and Social Security, for the pure economic velocity of the Gulf. The catch? The safety net is now entirely your responsibility. To succeed requires serious personal discipline with your savings and a very sharp awareness of the local rules.
And this leaves us with one final big thought about what this great reallocation really means. Are we watching the UAE create a brand new blueprint for how to attract the world's best and brightest talent? Or is this high-speed, low-safety net model just a cautionary tale in the making? The answer, whatever way it goes, is probably going to define the next decade of how we think about work and wealth.